I'm Angela, and you're watching Runway Done My Way at Viva Glam Magazine. Today's episode is dedicated to our furry friends. I'm going to show you how to make a really cute non-sew pet sweater and a really quick non-sew pet bed. Let's get started with the ingredients. Oh, honey. Yes. Alright guys, so first of all I want to introduce Princess Buttercup. I got her from the Best Friends shelter and she is my newest addition. So all this is going to be for her. Let's get started with the ingredients. This is a beanie that I got at the dollar store. So clearly it only cost $1. Any beanie will do. And then you need 1 yard of fleece fabric. You can pretty much choose anything you want. I got this at Joann's fabric store. You could pick this up anywhere. Super, super cheap. And then you're just going to need some scissors. And Princess Buttercup requested some rhinestones on her sweater, so if they'll let you buy a half a yard, but usually you have to buy a yard, so a yard of rhinestone trim. And then we need some fabric glue. And we have our model sitting front and center, so let's get started so we can bedazzle this baby up. Okay. So real quick before we get started, I forget to mention that you will need Polyfill. You can pick this up at any fabric store. So take your yard of fabric and you want to fold it in half and just kind of, we're going to decide how big the bed's going to be, and then we're just going to go ahead and cut along the fabric from top to bottom. This should be plenty big for her because she's a small dog. But if you had a bigger dog, you can just go ahead and use this whole yard and just follow the instructions the same way. So we're going to cut at the seam right here. You want 2 separate pieces. Okay, and then we want to cut this side off where there's the print so that we just have, you know, a clean piece of fabric, polka dots, no extra design. And again, like I always say, you want to use super sharp scissors, excuse me. Okay, now you have your 2 pieces laying on top of each other. All you're going to do is cut little slices all the way along the side. And you want to make them, we're going to be tying them in knots, so you want to make them about 5 inches probably. And cut all the way along the side, and we're going to cut all the way around. Again, it doesn't take that long once you get a rhythm going. And you want to space them out about 1.5 inches. And then just continue on along each side. Okay, now when you get to the corner, I've kind of dog-eared it. I don't know how it's going to tie, so I might end up just cutting the corners completely off, because you'll see when we start to tie the knots that it pretty much holds everything together. So now that we got that all cut, you just tie little knots with the top and bottom tab. And then you just kind of line them up and they start to look like little tiny bows. Tie a knot. There we go. Okay, now we have this whole thing tied. You want to leave an opening and then stuff your polyfill. And you don't have to make it too big or too fluffy because you want it to be kind of soft and it'll take its own shape. You know, like the middle will probably be caved in once the dog lays on it. So now I have a lot of polyfill. It's kind of lumpy at first. You'll kind of play with it and press it around. And then obviously when your dog lays on it, it'll form its own little shape. And then you just want to finish tying off the bed by tying these little knots. See, yeah, the corners are kind of weird. So when you get to them, see how they kind of get in the way? I'll probably just cut them off, like I said, because it ties closed fine without that. Yeah, so let's just cut them and cut the matching bottom 2 off. And then just tie it shut. And that is our non-sew pet bed. You can pick a different fabric if you wanted to make it for a boy dog, but for now, let's move on to her pet sweater. Alright guys, so we are done with the pet bed. I will bring that up at the end and I'll show you how everything looks together. But for now, we're going to move on to the pet sweater. So I got this beanie at the dollar store. So all you have to do, there's a little pom-pom on top. We're going to use that as our head hole. So we're just going to cut basically right across the top. You don't want too big of a hole because it'll stretch. So we cut the pom-pom off. And then we have our head hole. This isn't a sweater that'll last forever, but who wants a sweater that'll last forever? It's just an excuse to make more and go shopping. Okay, so that's our head hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it over her head, which she's really good. Oh, honey likes it. Okay, and then you just want to kind of eyeball where you're going to put the little armholes. So you can clip it or you can just eyeball it. I'll probably go ahead and just do a little, pull the sweater out obviously. Do little nips, and then when we put it back on her the second time, we'll make the armholes like, you know, as big as they need to be. So for now, take it off, and then go ahead and snip through the hole. And let's see on this side. Hi, honey. Basically just, you know, snipping a wider hole where I snipped the little first hole. Okay. They'll need to be adjusted. So you'll have to put it on and off your dog probably once or twice. Maybe I'll get lucky and only have to do it once. Ready? Looks like a little burglar mouse when you're done, like the little eye holes. Okay, ready? One more time. So put it back on. The reason I came up with this idea because I took my dogs to the mountains and the weather changed dramatically. And we went to the pet store to look for sweaters, and not only did they not have anything I liked, everything cost, like as you guys know, everything's like $100 and $120, and so I ended up getting a beanie and making her a sweater that was good for the weekend, you know. Okay, so actually, we kind of eyeballed that pretty good. So now, we can't leave you looking like a boy, can we? Oh, honey. So we're going to add some bling, but see, it's really cute as is. But obviously I gotta bedazzle this up because she's a girl and she's a princess buttercup. So I'm gonna take this off her and I will see you back in just a second to put the rhinestones on. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and add the rhinestone accents. We're just gonna put it around the back part of the sweater because, you know, the bottom of their body, they lay down, it gets snagged on things, so there's no point. And also, right now, it has a stretch neck and the arms have stretch opening. Obviously, rhinestone trim does not stretch, and so you don't want it to be tight around her neck. So we're just going to decorate the back part of the sweater. That way it remains comfortable for her. And you decide how many rows of rhinestones you want to use. I'm using, I think, 3 here. Yeah, 3. And then use your fabric glue and go ahead and press that down. And don't worry about the fabric glue, it all dries clear. So if it presses through white like this, it will end up drying clear. And then we're just going to, there's a little seam on the side of the beanie. That'll be our stop point. We'll use that as our marker. And then we're just going to glue that down. And then we can, you know, take our scissors and clean up the neckline where all the little frayed edges are from the knit. And you always want to make sure that your edges are glued down really well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my E6000 glue. I always try to cheat on my glue with new glue, and I always regret it. So it just sticks quick. You don't have to sit and wait 24 hours for it to dry. So especially with doing this little detailed part that I'm going to do, I'm going to use my E6000 glue. So You always want to use like a little, I'm using a pin. You can use a stick or whatever you want to use to put the glue on when you're working with smaller areas like this. And then just stick the glue on the back of the trim. I'm going to go ahead and trace the rim of this little beanie just to give her a little bit more bling. And anytime you're working with a rhinestone trim like this, at the bottom where it's going to curve, I could have cut a piece long enough to go all the way across the beanie, but I feel like whenever you're making turns, it's better just to start a new piece, and that way it doesn't lift. So I cut it basically to go right to the bend in the beanie right there, like right here you see. We'll bring it around and then we'll just see how I feel like if we glued it, no matter how like strong, it would just kind of lift up. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right there, and then we'll start a new piece. Go ahead and cut another row off. And I'll be back in a second when this is all done. Okay, so this is done. I just wanted to leave the last little part to do together with you guys. So again, we're using that edge seam as our border. So I'm just gonna take the trim there and then trim it off. And that makes it pop, makes it a little more feminine. That is our non-sew pet sweater. Alright guys, so that is our non-sew pet sweater and our non-sew pet bed. They turned out great. I love brown and pink together. The one thing I will say is that I underestimated the polyfill. I could have made a much bigger bed. I probably could have used that whole yard of fabric. I was guesstimating and I guesstimated wrong. A little bit goes a long way. As you see, our supermodel has fallen asleep, so clearly this is a very comfortable fabric to use for pet beds. And all I have to say is I hope you enjoyed our project today at